Hey everybody, Dacia Coffee here, and that means it's Wednesday and we are on for Corporate Caffeine. Now, you guys know my favorite live stream sessions are when I bring on the brilliant people that I've had the blessing of meeting and getting to know and oftentimes being blessed and mentored by. And Courtney Wright is no exception. She is a CEO, she is a podcast host, and she is a powerhouse. But her power comes from her heart and her willingness to share her voice and help other people share their voices so that we can do leadership and success together. And so I love the dynamic Courtney brings with being able to really bring what it takes to be successful, but balancing that with bringing people along on her success journey. So Courtney, I'm so excited. We're finally doing this. Welcome.
Thanks, Stacey. I really am excited. So thrilled to be on a show with you. And I love that your last name's Coffee, my favorite and best entrepreneurial tip.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We got to chase that squirrel. How many coffees do you drink a day?
Just really one grande, but don't miss it ever.
I know it is like my pick me up, even if I quote unquote don't need it, whatever
Yeah.
that means in the morning. But yeah, I am not right if I skip
No,
it.
it's an addiction. I'm okay to admit it.
Yes, I know exactly. So, Courtney, you're the CEO of a very successful organization. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that, but more importantly, kind of what you've learned along the way?
Oh, wow. Well,
Just that little question.
Yeah, sure. Well, I am the owner and CEO of Gemini Builds It and Showcase Acrylics. We are a 55-person manufacturer in Elgin, Illinois, and we work in a variety of industries. I bought this company after a successful exit on the last company that I had started. And I was fortunate enough to use Gemini in my past life as a supplier. And now I'm leading a manufacturing company. And it's just coming up on 6 years that I've owned this company. We've bought a few other companies that we've rolled into it or run alongside. And we're really just building something that is a very sustainable business in the manufacturing space, which is super exciting right now in America. It's amazing to be a manufacturer, and I'm really proud to do so.
Oh, I love it. I mean, even just in that sentence, you've had two totally different, not different, but two trajectories that most people would say, oh my gosh, if I even was able to have one business and exit it or build one business, but not only that, you're in a second one and actually multiple having made acquisitions. So, I mean, why? What is it about you? Were you like, have you figured something out? Like what can you share about why have you been able to accomplish that?
Well, I mean, I think a couple things. One is, this is my golf. I really love what I do, and I don't want anybody to be out there working when it's just work because life feels very short. Lost my dad 2 years ago unexpectedly, and it was a real realization that, wow, this is a pretty fast journey. So if we spend our time and days and minutes doing things that we're not very excited about, that's a waste of time, in my opinion. So I was just a very, very driven, hustle focused, goal focused kid. So the time I was 7, I was a Girl Scout, and then I had a cookie route, and then I was the top cookie salesperson, and then I sold lenticulars, which is a printing thing. And I mean, I just was always sort of doing it. And my real why is to meet the people. I love my customers. I love meeting interesting people. And so I'm able to connect to lots of people, whether it's people that work with us or suppliers or customers and I am just a people person.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got to ask you the flip side of that question. What are the things that you're like, no, this is just not my highest and best use? Because when you're talking about spending your time doing things that are just draining, it's important to realize like people that have, accomplished a certain level of success have learned you can't do it all. And you got to figure out what the not doing it all is. So like, what is that for you specifically?
Well, I mean, I had a really great example in my first company. We'd grown it to a decent size, and somebody suggested that my husband come into the business and work day to day, and his skill set is operations and finance. And I kind of revolted at first because I thought, well, that might shed the lens on now, when you're very busy being busy, you don't have to be as accountable to one thing. And I was nervous that I would now have all the time in the world to sell. And what if I really didn't hit the numbers that I was supposed to hit because I wasn't busy doing payroll and 401k? Well, it was just the opposite. Once we got ourselves in the right lane, we doubled again that year. And I think here at Gemini, we was just way too much going on for me to dabble in things I don't want to do. I am lucky that, chaos makes you a better delegator. And speed to market makes you a better delegate. Like, I just have water coming in my mouth at all the time. So I have to ask for help better than I ever would. And there's just one. Highest best use is a term I use all the time. I am good at starting things. I'm good at pace setting. I'm good at getting the team believing that they can actually close orders that they may not be know that they're able to do. But I am just not good at very, very detailed work that goes on for a very long period of time. So I know that about myself. I try to pick the right people to do the right things, and preserve my energy is the number one thing I need to do because I'm leading the company.
Okay, I really hope when people watch this that they will go back and just literally write down the list that you did, because I know I'm going to do that. I mean, I could unpack pace setting, I could unpack everything, but I'm going to kind of pick apart a few. You talked about basically drinking from a fire hose and how healthy that has been for you because it taught you to ask for help. In my own leadership, I used to really lament, like, why can't I find the accelerator pedal? Like, why am I not stepping on the gas? And that was the reason, was because I thought I had to figure it all out. Like, there would be a problem and I'd be like, I've got to figure this out. And so I was too embarrassed to ask for help. I didn't know how to ask for help. Sometimes I didn't even realize I was doing it, but it was about this paradigm that I had to figure it out. So, I mean, I love that you're talking about utilizing overwhelm as a positive energizer and not something where you drown and kill and sabotage your own possibility. I mean, I think that's amazing. So, when you're talking about pace setting and encouraging other people and finding the right team members, what have you learned about doing that? Because building that team and learning how to build a team that you can ask for help, that is its own journey.
Yeah, I was really fortunate right out of school to learn from an incredible entrepreneur. A lot of things about how to run a business and a lot of things about how not to run a business. And those were both lessons. One thing that I heard him say very often, and I did observe, is that talent was really what he hired. He was very good picker of talent. So by nature, if you're not a good delegator, which I'm not by nature, I have to surround myself with people that are way better than me so that they can sort of pick up the ball that I'm willing to give them. I'm not a teacher. I'm not very like a methodical person where I can help you learn things. I'm Michael Jordan out on the court with you, making 3-pointers. And if you're good and very talented, you're observing and you're getting better. But I'm not teaching you like, well, here, stand on this line and do it this way and hold the ball this way. If you're a good observer, you're going to get better working with me because I'm going to be very open book and tell you everything. But if you want like a little roadmap, you've got to go find somebody different.
Not your team.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, because I mean, that helps so much in regards to like finding the right people, that they're wanting to grow, that they're those sponges, that they've got some sort of self-motivation as long as they're giving the tools. That is awesome. So I want to switch just a minute. You have an amazing new podcast and your personal brand is Lady Boss. All right. Why'd you go that lane? Like, tell me, I mean, obviously you're a lady and a boss, but I know there's more to that.
Well, I mean, I think that it's kind of a name that, like, little funny nickname I've had forever and ever. That was, maybe still is, that was unique. When I started in my business career, there weren't that many ladies that were the boss, believe it or not. So a lot of the guys that were on my team would always call me Lady Boss. And, I just think it just kind of stuck over and over. And for me, it was like a way where I started down my journey of really helping, impart wisdom. So the real genesis of this podcast was that people would call me just like you're doing right now, sharing your entrepreneurial journey. And they would ask me for advice all the time, every day. How do you do this? How do you do this? And I realized none of us have like a roadmap for this thing called entrepreneurship. It's a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, costly mistakes, time, grit, trying again, and hopefully you get it at some point. And so I thought, well, I'm talking to all these really smart people that, we're kicking stuff around. Sometimes a little nugget comes out of there, but this is not a way to scale this. What if I could scale this information so the next 100, next 1,000, next 2,000 entrepreneurs would hear that and use that on their journey if helpful to them? And so I decided to do a podcast to really start documenting and scaling all this advice that I was giving and getting. And then a year from now, I'll encapsulate it into a book so that, we can have a little field guide for entrepreneurship for people who are interested.
I think that is amazing. I really want people to go, wow, there's a way to dive into a journey, even a podcast journey, and then turn it into something else. And even just that thinking of, okay, I'm doing something one-to-one. How do I scale it? I mean, I think going back to something you said earlier, sometimes the pressure of I can't keep this pattern up is the exact catalyst you need in order to open a floodgate to something bigger, more exciting, more impactful, but it doesn't require additional work from you. I mean, it just takes you up the value ladder. I think that is so fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point in my career, it has to be things that are scalable. The same things that energized me 20, 30 years ago don't now. And at the same time, giving back is just is a big driver for me. And if I can help give back some of the lessons, I mean, I'll never, ever be able to repay all the people along my journey that have helped, lended support, lended an ear, played on the court with me. But I want to try to do that for the next group of people. And what's so fulfilling is that a lot of like college students and younger professionals are like DMing me about, well, this is so great. I'm getting to hear these people. And I realize, unless you're exposed to these people, like you don't get in the room of those people when you're 25 years old. And that's the real gift, is that there's nowhere, they're not going to meet them. So that's a fun thing to be able to offer the audience of the Lady Boss podcast.
Oh, I love it. And I just couldn't encourage people more to, number one, listen to your podcast, but listen to people whose pathways you aspire to, because I agree. You cannot say, oh, poor me, I've never had a mentor, when there's millions of them out there in any possible way you want to learn. If you're a reader, if you're a listener, if you're a doer, like if you like to take classes, there's free versions of all of this out there. It's so amazing. Now, you also a minute ago said, you made the comment that your energy as a business leader is one of the most important things. So how do you protect your energy? What are you doing to make sure that you're functioning at a high level so that you can then take care of the business and take care of other people and give back? I mean, which is huge, because you've got to have something, just have margin left to be able to give. You can't give if you're empty.
Yeah. I mean, I think, health has gotten to be just a super important part of my journey. I realized, always was a good sleeper, good exerciser, decent eater, but like I'm just fine tuning all of those things little by little, like in my kind of 1% a day mantra, which is just get better 1% a day. Because I think that, I'm not, getting older, I want to really just like make sure that the machine's running as well as it can be. And I think that it's letting, giving air to and space to the people that work with me to do and learn things that I know and I don't have to be the lead on. I mean, there's a few key things that are my role as a CEO today. And, I have to be the number one shareholder. That's important. I've got to guide the financial ship in a way, just understanding where's the markets, what's coming, how are we growing, protecting the business and the 55 families that the business supports. So, that is really important business to me. The next is hiring the best people. I'm always, always, always having people here, recruit people, and on the lookout for who's going to come here and help us grow to where we're going. And then doing the biggest deals. There are certainly people that hide out in their office and pretend to be CEO and have their people report back on the deals, but I am really involved in crafting the solution, crafting the proposal, crafting the way we close important deals, because that's something I can offer the business.
Yeah. Well, and I love it because those energize you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
evident like when you talk about them. So you have found your highest and best use.
Yep.
And knowing talking to you before, it doesn't matter if other CEOs focus their energy on something else.
Yeah.
Your highest and best use to your business.
Yeah.
In the past ones, you found it, you live there, you build a team around the rest, and then that energizes them to have significant impact because you're like, whoa, that's you. I hired you on purpose. How can you contribute? I think that is, it's really what the business world should aspire to because there's so much opportunity to contribute as long as you're playing the role you need to play.
Yeah, that's hard though. Our insecurities, mine can get in the way. If I'm not feeling it on one day and somebody takes my job and then I don't feel like I have a place, I can meddle something up. So I think it's so easy to say. It's so hard to practice day to day. And that's the real work, is just getting better and better at how you show up and how you do the things that you can do for your company.
I think that's such a great point. It's interesting. Like on my leadership journey, one of the things I'm constantly trying to get that 1% better on is about reading my team and supporting them and also helping them to be their best. And so it's funny because from my leadership style, I've had to learn to move away from this setting expectations paradigm because it doesn't really jive with my natural style, but into a partnership of, but here's your real potential and how do we get you there together versus, hey, I expected you to be here and you're not, because that really diminished me as a leader. And I was creating conversations that were not bringing value to the business or to the person that I was talking to. But it's interesting, just 1% better. How can I communicate? How can I meet somebody there? But, it's highest and best use, like what's mine, like what's my specific style. And so I love that you're like, hey, and everybody out there's got to find their own, like, this is really, really important. And that's why taking advice is really important because you've got to adapt it to who you are and hear your own pathway inside of other people's, so that you can find your own journey.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lady Boss is an entrepreneur's paradise, kind of. Really, you guys are talking about, what it's taken and people's experience and what they've learned. And what I really appreciate is there is such a wide range of entrepreneurs. Different ages, different backgrounds, both men and women, very different industries. So where can people find you? And, what do you want people to know when they're searching for your podcast?
I think that the journey is really about exposing people to bigger and bigger problems that are part of the journey. So we've really only launched 5 episodes so far. We're on YouTube and Spotify and all the places you get your podcast at Lady Boss by Courtney Wright. Turns out there are other Lady Boss, and until I get that trademarked, you got to put my last name in there. But I would hope that people used it as a one of their go-to toolbox, inspirational type learnings of the week. It's short, 20 to 25 minutes, very well done in terms of the level of talent that is on the show. And the people there are really telling you stories, which I can step back 60,000 feet and realize there's so many threads to entrepreneurship and ownership that repeat. And I hope that people will see, whether it's different industries, male, female, different size businesses, lots of people, less people, that some of the challenges they're going through are just part of it. And to lean in, listen to all the advice and all the different places you get it, and know that you're going to get through. Because sometimes it's a very, very lonely proposition being an entrepreneur, I have found. And you feel like you'll never get through the thing that's making you stuck, when in fact, it's just part of how it goes. And the faster you can get to the other side and get to the next the next hurdle, the faster your company can grow. So I'm hoping that that's how people will use it.
I love it. I could not agree more. And even our conversation is a perfect example. If I if I was stuck, which, at one point I was in comparison land of, you and I would not be having this conversation because I would have been too embarrassed to have like taken up someone on the introduction between us. And, like invited you in, saying, okay, how can I learn from you? But also, how can I serve you in the process? But I had to get over my shortcomings, myself identified, in order to lean into other people that want to be a part of a bigger community. And so I just really want to thank you, for your heart for doing that and for, opening the doors so that people can see and hear the kind of conversations that are imperative to finding success, especially success as an entrepreneur. But I mean, inside of any sort of work journey, because I agree about those repeatable threads. They're there, and you've just got to have a willingness to listen and then figure out how do you apply them to yourself. So Courtney, thank you so much. Any final thoughts, anything else that you want to share, anything like that?
Yes, I would love to say, Daisy, thank you. I think you have an awesome skill of being very vulnerable, which I think is an amazing leadership trait and something that I didn't learn till a lot later on. Like that is where the magic is. If your team thinks that you think you know everything, then they won't follow you as hard. So I love that about you. And I've really enjoyed getting to see that again today. You're really a true superstar. And if anybody has feedback about the podcast or ideas about people that should be on there, please, I'm on LinkedIn at Courtney Wright, Instagram, CourtneyWright.co. I would love to hear from you and, speak to anybody that really can help the audience, because that's what we're all here to, that's our highest and best use, helping others get where they're going.
Yes, exactly. I love it. Well, thank you again. And you guys, I will see y'all next week. Onward and upward.